What is up, weather enthusiasts? I'm your host, Pat's Path Predictor. Let's get right into the weather. Yes, I am finally streaming once again. I know it's been a couple of weeks. Things are getting a little interesting in the tropics, and finally I have some time, and I've got a lot of my stuff taken care of to do that. So let's go ahead and jump right into it tonight. We have a few guests joining us tonight as well. We have, first of all, Yoshi. Yoshi, say hello.
Hello.
Yeah, we also have Daniel, who is one of our moderators at Storms United. Daniel, say hello.
Hello.
And we have John, who is our head admin at Storms United and will mainly be taking care of administrative things behind the scenes, but he may chime in here and there so he can talk about weather, especially some of the stuff that's going on in the upper Midwest. John, go ahead and say hello to our audience.
How's it going?
All right, so let's go ahead and get started tonight. We have a lot to talk about. First of all, we have stuff going on in the tropical Atlantic for the first time in a while. We have a new area of interest tagged. Yoshi, you actually wrote out a forecast for us in live no mic. Why don't you go ahead and take a look and kind of give us the rundown for it?
Can you actually give me another minute? I need to get the stream on, but I can't find it.
All right.
Also, can you make sure we're actually streaming? I don't see it on the channel yet.
It should be on there. Yep, we're good. We're good. Yeah, we're good. Don't worry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll give you another minute. But while you're doing that, I'm gonna go ahead and read out the NHC's area of interest look, if that's all right with you. And here's the situation. It's not too much. It's kind of your typical 020 area of interest. But this got tagged tonight, and that's why part of the reason we are streaming, as well as a bunch of other reasons we will get to later. But here's the situation that we have. An area of low pressure could form in the central portion of the tropical Atlantic in a few days. Thereafter, environmental conditions appear generally favorable for some slow development of the system by this weekend into early next week as it moves westward to west-northwestward at 10 to 15 miles per hour, 20% chance of formation in the next 7 days, so we'll have to pay very close attention to that at this current point. So yep, we finally got something tagged. It's for that tropical wave that we were paying attention to in the main development region, and that's ultimately some stuff we're going to have to monitor. Yoshi, are you ready to go? Or no?
I'm getting on it. Hold on.
All right, that's fine.
Okay, there we go.
There we go. Perfect. Okay. Yeah. All right.
So here is So sometimes I read out hurricane forecasting and documentation stuff. This is the 16th one in general, so here we go. The status is that it needs watching. Forecasted status is heightened. Overview. Computer models have shown a tropical wave slowly forming over the area, highlighted and continuing into land. Anyone in the Lesserantilles and Puertorico should watch for system. Modeling. Computer modeling has shown formation of a tropical system past 40 degrees west for a while now. The Euro ensembles and GFS models has shown a strong system turning into a hurricane after Puerto Rico. However, it's too far to say anything with any certainty. Official forecasts. The National Hurricane Center has placed a 020 on this system. They aren't using the worst wording out there either. Writer's commentary. An AOI in general was expected with this system, as models have shown this for a couple days now. However, not this early. Models didn't catch on it enough to be an AOI until 18Z, partially because it was on and off, and
it just needed to wait for consistency.
It needed to be closer.
Yep.
In time, which was 2 hours ago. Even then, we had to wait for consistency. Maybe the NHC's in-house models were forecasting on this for a while. Basically, it's a regular 020 could turn into a hurricane system.
Yep, that's your classic, and we saw that with Ernesto, with it rapidly ramping up in the probabilities in the days before it impacted Puerto Rico and the Lesser Antilles. We also have Sakura in the stream right now. Sakura, hello.
Hey, yeah, I've been keeping my eye on Shanshan, and
Yeah, we're going to talk about what's going on in Japan in a little bit, but I wanted to kind of get this stuff in the Atlantic out of the way first because we're getting new information out with that. But we will be talking about that tonight. Just give us another 20 minutes or so if that's okay.
I mean, Shanshan is kind of like our biggest problem.
Yeah, it
And
is.
plus, Mike,
Yeah, in terms of
and by the
yeah,
way, forgot to mention,
yeah,
I'm actually at college right now, so
yay.
flight hours actually start in 15 minutes.
All
So
right.
I kind of want to get this out of the way.
All right, I'll let you go ahead and talk about this for a little bit. I know we're a little bit. I know we're kind of going as we all over the place tonight. There's been just for our audience. There's a lot of weather that's been going on. We have Shanshan going on off the coast of Japan right now that we're going to be talking about. We have this new area of interest. We have several systems in the Central Pacific, and we have severe weather on top of that we're watching. So I apologize if this is a lot of back and forth and all that, but here we go. Sakura, whenever you're ready.
But first off, I do actually have a PC now, so I can actually go ahead and stream the radar.
All right.
So this is where Shanshan is right now. That's Oshima Island. There is Yoronijima, and then Okinawa-jima islands. So of course, here's the Ryukyu chain. The reference. I believe these are bands in relation to Shanshan, believe it or not.
All right.
Ring bands related to Shanshan, but they're actually pushing up into the coast of Honshu and Shikoku.
Yeah.
This is where Shanshan is now. As you can see,
Yeah.
Omizushima Island is quite clearly in the crosshairs of the storm, which is not good, but actually, hold on now.
Yeah, Sakura. I also have the
last.
Joint Typhoon Warning Center cone pulled up for this for Japan as well.
Let me get the JMA coming up. Maybe I should get the JMA coming up.
All right, you go ahead and we'll take a look at that. We'll take a look at that. But this is the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, and I know a lot of you were probably I know a lot of you are probably confused as to now as why we're talking about this typhoon nearing Japan, but this is the reason why. This cone is the reason why, because there's going to be impacting a lot of people over there, and it's overall been a very concerning system that we've been watching as well. So, Sakura, go ahead and continue.
I was gonna say, a couple days ago, it actually showed it tracking from where it was to about the Kansai region.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, this entire region, known as the Keihanshin metro area, that area is basically like the second most populated in the entire country behind the Kanto region and Tokyo in that area. It shifted to the west. I saw that a lot. But here's the thing, Kyushu, like Kumamoto, Nagasaki, that whole area is just populated.
Yep.
And say the Keihanshin, that's Kyoto, Osaka, Kobe, and sometimes Sakai as well, and the Kanto region as a whole. So and here's the thing, by the way. Shanshan, right? The cone is expected to the storm is expected to travel anywhere within this cone. That's only the center of the storm, I should remind you. It's only the center, not the wind field.
Yep.
Speaking of its wind field, by the way, take a look at how far those gale force winds extend.
Let me take a look at that real quickly.
Just a minute. The yellow ring here you see on my screen.
Yep.
That is and apologies if I have it in Japanese, but
Let me go ahead.
The yellow ring is the gale force winds, and then the red here is the typhoon force winds. Now, this is classified by the JMA as a very strong typhoon right now. All right. It has winds of 100 mile an hour, 10 minutes sustained. That is 120 1 minute, gusting to 140 miles an hour.
Oof. Yeah, that's not good at all.
Very
especially for
strong.
that region of Japan too. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah. So yeah. This. Go ahead and continue. My bad.
Typhoon.
All right.
Look, they have this strengthening to near 110 mile an hour, 10 minutes sustained winds.
Is this when it makes landfall?
That's just about where it make. That's just about when it makes landfall. Yeah.
Okay. That is pretty bad.
Yeah, 95 knots, gusting to 135 knots.
Yeah. So
That's just about there. So I'm not going to rule out a category 4 from this.
I will have to wait and pay attention to that. I haven't really looked at any models of that, to be honest with you. I know you have been
Next
watching
one.
it, so
Yeah, I definitely have been watching Shanshan a lot. I definitely
yeah,
have been watching.
I know a
Stuff
lot of
that
us at
impact
Storms United have been
on
as well. Yeah, this is interesting stuff, and kind of the stuff Sakura said about the wind field and everything like that. The reason we talk about this, and part of the reason we're talking about Japan tonight, is because a lot of that also applies in pretty much every basin that we cover stuff. The Eastern Pacific, the Atlantic Ocean, which is where this new area of interest has been tagged. Like, we look at these case studies around the globe, and a lot of the same stuff applies to these areas as well. So if you're wondering what the relevance of with Shenzhen and kind of what we're watching in the tropical Atlantic, well, what Sakura said about the wind field, I think, is a perfect example of that. It's not just the center of any circulation where there's going to be the impacts. No, that's not how that works. Essentially, you have that wind field, and ultimately these systems span out hundreds of miles across in diameter, and they affect a lot of people. Even in tropical storm force winds, you're still affected. Which, speaking of which, we had Sakura. I'm sure you were watching this too, but we had Hone impact Hawaii, the big island of Hawaii, as well, which is kind of another one of those things we were watching.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say Hone was pretty interesting stuff. It did actually become a hurricane. So,
yeah, just south of the biggest island. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I actually have. By the way, I have the JMA cone pulled up in English.
All right.
Yeah, it says here a very strong typhoon. So if you're unaware with the JMA scale, and I'll explain this real quick, it's basically goes tropical depression, tropical storm, severe tropical storm. Then it goes typhoon, strong typhoon, very strong typhoon, and then violent.
Yeah.
And that is one stage below the violent typhoon.
Yeah.
Status.
That's ultimately.
If it gets the violent typhoon, you're screwed.
That's similar to the Saffir-Simpson scale, isn't it? In that regard, except it's a lot more. There's a lot more layers to it.
Let me look up tropical cyclone scales.
All right.
So I think the strong typhoon category is there as well.
The good thing with this system, I will say, is that it's currently going under an eyewall replacement cycle. So it will.
This is a reference here, by the way. Here is the Saffir-Simpson scale.
Okay.
As for reference.
Okay, hold on.
Do you have it pulled up?
This is the. I do.
You do.
Yep. And then here's the JMA. Then here's the JMA scale. So violent typhoons have winds of over 120 mile an hour. Then it's very strong typhoon. Then just a regular run-of-the-mill typhoon, I guess you could say. So yeah, strong typhoon does not exist. But you get my point. Right?
Yeah, we get it.
There's TD, TS. Now these are in 10-minute sustained winds, by the way. I should note 10 minutes.
Okay.
Jot down in your head here.
Yeah. What would that be in 1 minute sustained winds? We'd have to do some conversions with that.
Let's see. Violent typhoon, winds of 105 knots. So if you do the math there, 120 miles an hour, if you're unfamiliar with the name.
Yeah.
That would probably be about 140.
Yeah, that's oh boy.
Maybe 145 if you're lucky.
Yeah, that's
Now Shanshan is expected to be a very, very strong typhoon, which
okay.
have winds of between 105 and 100 and let's say 120 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So that's roughly about that's 10 minutes stint. 1 minute stint, I would say that's about between 115 to
Yeah.
about 130.
Miles an hour at 1 minute.
1 minute, yeah.
Oof.
So, yeah, judging by, kind of the conversion rates from typhoons in the past that have gotten to violent typhoon intensity, for example, Typhoon Hagibis, which actually got there.
All right.
Typhoon Haiyan, which had winds of 145 miles an hour, 10 minutes sustained. But
Yeah.
but I'm gonna stress this. This is gonna be nothing like Haiyan. This is gonna be nothing like Typhoon Vera,
Oh no, of course not.
1959.
Yeah.
Because and I'm actually gonna pull up Typhoon Vera 1959 as an example
Okay.
of how close we came to a Vera repeat.
Mm-hmm.
Because here's the thing, Shanshan was originally forecast to go from here through the Kansai region and up the Japan's central region.
All right.
This is the track Typhoon Vera took in 59.
All right.
So Shanshan's original track looks like this.
All right.
This was Vera. Do you notice the similarities?
Yeah, I'm noticing quite a bit of them.
Shanshan would have, and if Shanshan would have did that, Japan would have been screwed to high hell.
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely.
I don't mean that lightly either. I mean, this would have been. I mean, if Shanshan would have intensified all the way up to landfall, its original track, it would have been another Vera. Now, I don't think Shanshan was going to do this much.
No, of course not.
It was going to do a lot. It was going to do a lot, but probably not that many fatalities. It probably wasn't. I have been hinting on a lot of
When was this? 1959. When was this? 1959? Yeah. Okay.
Vera was in
I know, sorry to cut you off, but I know in Japan their building codes are a lot better now than they were 60 years ago.
They were.
So,
in
fact,
Vera was actually one of the reasons why their building codes got much better.
Yeah,
and
same
also,
with earthquakes
I forgot to mention,
as well. But
I will not be surprised if this typhoon gets a special name like these ones.
Regardless, though, I do think that Shanshan will make a historic breakthrough, even if it weakens a little bit less than I think a lot of them than some of the models are anticipating. It will still be historic for Japan because, and this is one of the last points I want to bring up and emphasize real quickly, is look at that cone right here. That's going through the entirety of the pretty much every single 3 out of the 4 the main islands in Japan. Hokkaido is the one
the cone actually goes all the way up to Hokkaido. So in theory, you could say it's going through all of them.
Yeah.
I mean, Kyushu first, then Shikoku, then Honshu, and then
Hokkaido.
Drop by the time it gets to Hokkaido.
Yeah, for sure. Is there anything else you want to bring up, Sakura, with Shanshan, as this is going to be a very historic storm? And I know I'm kind of rushing this a little bit, but we have a lot of topics to cover. So,
well, I will say the typhoon force winds are now reaching Oshima Island as we speak. By the way.
Okay.
But I will say, if this thing does make landfall as a major, this would be the first major to make landfall since Typhoon Mountain in 2004. So it's been about almost 20 years to the day since we've gotten a major typhoon landfall in Japan.
All right.
And actually, hold on. Let me check.
It's going to be a close call. It's going to be very close to a major.
First off, here's Hagibis. I'm looking this up for a reason. Okay, so Hagibis made landfall to that one. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me take a look at fact side 2019. No, not looking at typhoid fever. And here's fact side, by the way.
All right, I see it.
Okay, so fact side did actually make landfall as a category 2 in Tokyo, but it came close, but no cigars for a major landfall. They do a lot there for category 4, that's for sure. So yeah, we have not had a major typhoon landfall in Japan since Typhoon Maon of 2004. And if I want to go ahead and pull that up real quick.
All right.
Yeah, this
Okay.
is Maon
All right.
for reference. So,
Okay.
okay.
All right. That's all right. So, in relations to what we're seeing with Shanshan right now, what should people who are watching this who may have family over there, what should they take away from this, and what should they kind of understand? What should they take away the most from this? And that's the last question I'll
Well,
have.
the main thing is don't limit the impacts to the cone because the impacts are actually going to be felt throughout the entire country and maybe even in South Korea if the storm is big enough. This storm's gigantic. I mean, come on. Like the radius of the 50 knot winds, 50 nautical miles, the radius of the 30 knot winds, that's tropical storm force winds.
Mm-hmm.
They're stretching nearly 300 miles wide.
Yeah.
This is a 300-mile wide storm. This is going to be a big storm. So
yeah.
Don't limit the impacts to just the cone or the storm where it is now. Take the entire country.
For sure. All right.
I gotta go, y'all. I gotta go anyway. So
all right, Sakura. Have a good night. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Sorry. All right. I apologize for that pivot right there towards Japan. I know Sakura wanted to talk about that, so I wanted to give her the spotlight tonight to do that. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and pivot once again towards the Atlantic. Alex Baller, who's behind the scenes, was sending me some stuff for us to take a look at. So here's what we've been watching over the last few days. This is the ensemble runs that we have pulled up for you right here. The 18Z runs are starting to come in very quickly, and I will say a lot of this is getting pretty interesting. This is what we have right here. We're seeing a lot more of a concentrated scenario of relatively strong systems before than what we were seeing at previous, which I think is interesting. The majority of them at the 18Z run do have them staying out to sea, whereas if we compare it to the 12Z, a lot of them were kind of all over the place, some of it hitting into the Caribbean Sea, and some of it hitting and staying out to sea. Daniel, you're still here. I wanted to talk to you about this. What are your thoughts on that kind of stuff? What are your thoughts on the latest ensemble runs that are coming in?
I mean, I'm not really that surprised. It's about time. We've been in a bit of a dead period in the Atlantic, and it's one of those seasons that it's only a matter of time until said storm blows up again. Now, a lot of people have been saying that this season's gonna bust. I mean, realistically, I don't think any hurricane season is a bust. They have their highs and their lows. Some are more active than others, yes. But it only takes one storm that can do a crap ton of damage in one location. And we've already kind of had our big storm for the year. But this one very well could go again up there with Dora.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I just found it kind of interesting to take a look at. I'm also curious to see what the European, wonder what the 18Z European is bringing at this current point. I'll take a look at that very quickly as well. We're starting to see a lot more of these concentrated scenarios as well. Just for context for you guys tuning in, here's what we were seeing with the European at the 12Z run at this current point in time. We were seeing a lot more of a situation where things were a bit more scattered, things were a bit were getting a bit more kind of all over the place, although we still had a lot of scenarios screaming that this was going to be heading towards the Caribbean Sea or the Lesser Antilles right here. This is what the full 10-day forecast had, and the vast majority of the European runs too have it been continuing to ramp through the Lesser Antilles, moving through Puerto Rico. Some of it had it moving into the Caribbean. Others had it staying just north of that, potentially impacting the Bahamas, Hispaniola, those areas right there. And if we go ahead and go back to the 18Z runs, just to give you that look at that X factor right here, the main thing we're looking at with this is this more concentrated? And the answer is yes. It's a lot more concentrated, actually, because before, with the 12Z, we can go ahead and show you this again. We had boom, 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 boom. We had several model scenarios just kind of going in a bit of a line and a diagonal line, at least in their period of where this is at 144 hours out. Whereas we go ahead and show you the 18Z, it's a lot more concentrated and the consensus is a lot greater. And ultimately, that's some stuff that we're going to have to pay attention to. The main thing we're looking for in these ensemble runs and the operational runs too when they catch up is consistency. How consistent are they going to be, and how consistently are they going to develop it? How consistently are they going to organize it, and how consistently are they going to get things back together? So, yeah, we'll have to pay attention to that at this current point in time. So yeah, that's the European and GFS ensembles at this current point. I know we were slightly touching up on what was going on. The reason we were streaming tonight was kind of the area of interest that was tagged for those joining us right now. Things continue to get interesting, to say the very least. We were kind of talking about the last few videos, saying, hey, this might get tagged. Personally, and I was talking to a few people about this as well. I was expecting this to get tagged in the next 2 to 3 days, to be completely honest with you. But now that it's tagged tonight, things are continuing to be pretty interesting, continuing to get develop, and things are continuing to get interesting. We'll go ahead and answer some questions right now. So, yeah, okay. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Okay, do we have any questions in the chat that would like to be answered? Because I'd really be happy to help with that. So, yeah. Do I have a call-in number? We actually are trying something new out a little. A little bit. So, here's what we have right here. Let me go ahead and get the link for you very quickly. But basically, what we have now is what we have through our Storms United Discord server is, let me go ahead and pull this up and get the link to pin very quickly. So ultimately what we have is we have a link right here that goes to our Discord server, and what we're doing and what we're going to start experimenting with is we're going to have viewers start to call in and ask questions. So what you need to do is click that link, you'll join the Discord server. You'll go to the holding room. We'll let you. There's 3 simple questions. We'll let you in after that, and then there's a live stream waiting room down kind of where myself and Daniel are in the live stream VC. So we'll have our staff navigate you down there, and then whenever you're ready and whenever we're ready, we will go ahead and take your question live on the air. So that's something we're trying out, and I think it's something we should that I'd really like to do, and something I would like to expand on. So here's what we have going on right here. I know it's early, but what are the chances of the current disturbance developing into something big and affecting Dominica? Right now, in terms of it developing into something big, this just got tagged by the National Hurricane Center, and we've been tracking the ensemble runs at this current point in time. And what we're noticing, at least with the long-term forecast, we can show you the European 12Z long range as well, just to kind of give you a general gist, as well as other operational and ensemble runs to give a look at. But here's what we have This was the European 12Z not the operational, but the ensemble right here. Things continue to get a little bit more interesting over here. A lot of the models, in terms of Dominica, to first answer that question right there, it looks like it's going to be on the southern fringe of these ensembles right here. If we go ahead and show you the GFS as well, to kind of give you a general idea of this, let's go ahead and do that right now. Yeah, it's a bit more scattered with the 12Z GFS. If we go ahead and show you the 18Z GFS as well. Yeah, Dominica is kind of on the southern fringe of all those ensembles right there. And so right now, I would say the chances of it getting over there, at least based on the data I'm seeing right now, is relatively low, but not impossible. In terms of it developing into something big, it's going to take some time to organize and develop. It's going to take its time doing that. It's definitely something you're going to have to pay attention to, and I definitely think it's not out of the question that we could see something big out of this, but the question is, what are the conditions going to be like at that current point? There's still so many unknowns. We don't know exactly when the wind shear is going to be. We know there's a lot of warm water and ocean heat content for this stuff to tap off of, but at this current point, we don't know exactly how the wind shear is going to play out and how the dry air is going to play out as well. So we're going to have to keep very close eyes on that right there. If we have any more questions, go ahead and type that into the chat right now. Okay. 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 Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm taking a look at this right now. Okay, we do not have any more questions. Right. What's up?
Me right now, just looking at, so windy.com has added a lot more features of what you can view now.
All right.
So there is like the dust mass, which is very good to see the Saharan dust stuff, which is pretty much our dry air for the Atlantic that hinders every bit of development. And then, so I'm seeing it's relatively low.
Hey, Daniel, could you speak up? Your mic's a little bit quiet.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. How about now?
That's better, thank you.
Okay. So the Saharan dust, at least in this model, is showing it fading out. So when the storms are coming off Africa, those waves will be getting hindered by that dust. But when they entered the Atlantic, where this thing's going to be going, it's very minor in the coming days. So I think it's going to be fine, at least on that. Wind shear wise, we have to keep an eye on that.
All right, definitely.
Especially when that hits the Caribbean.
Yeah, I'm paying attention to the dry air right now, and I have it on tropical tidbits right now. I'm noticing there's quite a bit of dry air in the western, like northwestern part of the main development region. What are your thoughts on kind of its configuration and just how it's been kind of acting over the last few days, and just what you think it's ultimately going to do? I have it on tropical tidbits right here. If you want to take a look at it, let me go ahead and stream it over to on the Discord.
I mean, it's tricky to say. I mean, you have that ginormous dry air towards the north of where the main convection is trying to flare up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and then also, if you, like, I'm currently looking at the Caribbean and just was watching the satellite imagery of what the shear situation was like. Yeah, because on satellite you can see if it's high level shear and what direction the clouds are moving. So relatively where this storm's heading, it's fine. Currently right now there's northern shear from another low that's kind of a little wave in the southern Caribbean, kind of spinning off and gonna probably become its own storm in the East Pac if it survives.
Yeah.
the crossing, which we'll see. But there is a low spinning there. Very definitive low pressure, but not definitive enough to fully designate because it's not going to have enough time.
Yeah, for sure.
The main point at hand, it's too far out to say necessarily what this is going to do, how long it's going to take, and if it's going to properly utilize the waters and the environment. Because sometimes you have just systems that, the environment's perfect, but the internals of the system kind of just flop out, and it goes through countless eye wall replacements and kind of just falls apart.
All right, thank you for helping with that. In the meantime, yeah, I'm looking at the dry air, looking at kind of what you were looking at in the Caribbean as well, seeing how the shear is playing out.
If you go to normal sat, the visible satellite, you can
I was using water vapor to kind of highlight the dry air, but yeah. Yeah, but anyway, I'm looking at that. I'm watching the shear situation as well. I actually have the wind shear map pulled up right here. If you are taking a look at my stream, Daniel, on the Discord, I'm watching the Caribbean wind shear as well. I'm looking at some of these maps as well. The wind shear in the Caribbean is pretty low right now.
Relatively.
Yeah, relatively. Yeah. It's in a favorable environment. The entire Caribbean is. So, yeah, I think so. Yeah, we'll have to see how that evolves in the next few days. Mainly because what my main concern right now is that let's say this system stays further to the south and those southern fringes right there and enters the Caribbean Sea. If that wind shear pattern holds, especially with the amount of energy this system's going to be able to absorb with all those waters and ocean heat content, that's not going to be a very good setup for really just everyone that might be affected by that. Again, it's not saying it's going to happen or anything like that, but it's one of those possibilities we have to explore. So yeah, I know it's early, of course, but still. Yeah. All right. But yeah.
Pat,
what's up?
Something I just realized.
Yeah.
It's kind of off topic from the tropics, but I just wanted to bring it up.
Sure.
It's have you viewed what's happening in South America?
No, I haven't. What's been going on over there?
There is major wildfires. I didn't realize that was going on.
Yeah, is that in the Amazon rainforest?
Yeah, but look at my screen share. This is real bad.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it in a second. I'm gonna try to get some more products brought up for the stream. So,
hot take: it looks worse than the Canadian wildfires.
Yeah, let me take a look at that. Oh yeah, I definitely am seeing that smoke. Is that going to impact the tropical Atlantic at all, or no?
I think it's all going into the East Pac for the most part. I mean, it's not really going to affect it since it's going to be more in the subtropic region. But, I mean, knowing how much smoke can travel, I wouldn't be surprised if some of this, if it builds up, just passes all the way across to the other side. I mean,
yeah,
there's fires going everywhere now.
Oh yeah, I know.
It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
Because there's some on the other side of the world in Russia and China that are burning.
Watching that.
That are causing issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yoshi, you're back. How are you doing? First of all,
good.
Yeah. Second of all, I know we were talking about what was going on in Japan for a bit, but I wanted you back here because we're back on the Atlantic, and I want your overall thoughts on kind of all the ensemble runs that we've been seeing and all the models that we've been paying attention to?
I'd say very reliable. I wouldn't say for a certainty that it would form, but I'd say it's quite likely looking at all the ensemble runs.
Yeah.
Nothing really special to say here, though.
All right.
Other than the fact that it's quite worrying that about like over half of them have it as a hurricane.
Yeah, I've been watching that as well. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So what I want to ask you, Yoshi, about the overall conditions that this system's gonna, if it develops, goes into, because right now we need to. I think what we need to first do, at least right now, is indicate, kind of lay down the scenarios that this system does. Let's say, like, at least in terms of where it's going to be, where it might be tracking, because we're seeing some ensembles taking it to the Caribbean, others have it going into the out to sea in the Atlantic, which that would be the best case scenario for everyone on board. But I want, like, what are your thoughts just on the overall conditions and kind of the scenarios that could play out?
Well, it's going to depend on two main things, Pat.
Sure.
One, that the rigging, all right? The steering patterns, whether we're going to see the more northern Atlantic blocked or not, that's going to really determine it, especially if it's going to get pushed by something, which is increasingly likely, it looks like. And two, something called a ULAC, which pretty much helps the storm push out wind shear and really helps with outflow. And those two are going to be very important for the general system. The ULAC for strength, which some models are saying that it's going to go over the system now, which would be good for the system. And two is that, and the rigging, the steering patterns. However, luckily it looks like it's gonna be on a ULAC.
All right.
However, we do also see,
hey, Yoshi, sorry to cut you off, but for our audience, what does ULAC stand for?
I forgot about that.
Okay.
I forgot about what ULAC stands. Upper level something.
All right.
That's all I know.
Well, I can figure that out later. But yeah, it's old. But please continue. My apologies.
Yeah. So, and models have been showing both scenarios where it goes out into the Atlantic, into the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
The GFS shows it doing something similar to what Enresto did, but stronger, quite sadly.
Yeah.
Although it does look like the models do look like they're very slowly getting more north. Looking at the latest Euro ensemble runs, we got a lot of them not even hitting any land and just going north.
Yeah,
but
I looked at those.
I'd say that's going to be in by day 5 or day 6. So I'd say that is still quite uncertain to say whether it's going to do one thing or the other right now.
Mm-hmm.
Just know that it has options.
All right, yeah. So let's weigh our options then. Let's say the system impacts the Antilles and pulls another Ernesto.
Oh, sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
But, Travis, someone in chat answered our question. Thank you, Travis Streetler. Is it upper level anticyclone?
Thank
Awesome.
you. All right. Yeah, thank you. All right, thank you. Yeah. So, yeah, you're good. Do you may I continue, or do you have more, or would you like to add some more?
We do have another question by Vex Bites, which I hope to answer real quick.
Sure.
Should Florida be on the lookout, or just going to be another Enresto? I'm going to say that I'd say that Florida is unlikely to be hit by this. Mainly, no model show Florida being hit. However, it is too early to exactly tell. But if I had to say, if I had like a gun, if I had to answer at like gunpoint, I'd say no.
All right. Yeah, I'm in general agreement. I do know some of the European 12Z ensembles do have it heading in that general direction, but it's only like 3 of them out of 51. So it's considering that it's 10 days out,
Very
it's
unlikely.
pretty much almost zero at that point.
Yeah.
So
Travis Streetler also said, "I want to take some University of Florida courses."
yeah, wonderful.
If you mean by meteorological courses, I'm going to say this to you right now.
Mm-hmm.
You picked the right college. I've heard that FSU and Miami University, both two are like the best colleges for getting a meteorological background.
Yeah, I know their grad school programs there are really good as well. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard.
yeah, but anyway, yeah, we were off to anyway. Yeah, so what I want to ask you is, let's say this pulls another Ernesto. What's your thoughts on what's that process going to look like in terms of potential conditions that it might run into? And I can pull up some of the models to kind of help you out with that.
I think I wouldn't say that another Ernesto would be the worst case scenario, but it's on like it's not the worst case scenario, but it's on like the top 3
All right.
of the worst case scenarios.
Sure.
So what would happen, since some models are portraying another stronger Ernesto, I will tell you that's on the cards, but I'd say we do need to wait a bit longer for that. Oh, hold on. Speaker, can you have him address the question? Pat, we got a question specifically for you.
All right.
Streetler, I'm gonna go through this another Ernesto thing, and then I'll get to your question if that's all right.
Okay.
But basically, what would happen is it goes for the Antilles, and some models do want it stronger going through both the Antilles and Puerto Rico, stronger than Ernesto was. However, to be fair, models have also showed that for Ernesto, and that didn't turn out as well as it did.
Yeah.
But every storm is different, so these models could totally be right, but they could also totally be wrong. But basically, I would go up into Puerto Rico, and that wouldn't be very good. Puerto Rico is still recovering from Maria and
Fiona
and now
Ernesto.
Fiona and Resto. So another hit on Puerto Rico wouldn't be good. They've already have damaged infrastructure as it is enough from Resto. So another hit. Yeah. I don't want to see what that would look like, especially because it's supposed to be stronger than Resto if it does hit Puerto Rico. And then it goes up into the Atlantic, which that's way too far out to say on literally anything past Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
We've said that for Ernesto, anything past Puerto Rico is very, very uncertain. And I'd say for this one, anything past the Lesser Antilles is very, very uncertain. Will Texas get it? No. I'm going to say that. And I'm going to bet a lot of things on the fact it won't hit Texas. It's going to recurve.
One thing
all the models.
Go ahead. No, you finished. Go ahead. Sorry, my bad.
All right. I basically finished on that, so I'm going to get to a Streetler thing for you,
sure,
Pat. Let's look at it. It says, Pat, I have lived in Tampa, Florida for 44 years. Can atmospheric pressure cause local lightning and thunder to sound different? We are having different acoustics in 2020. I haven't noticed that. I live in Spring Hill. I'm an hour away from you, Streetler. And I'm going to tell you, I haven't noticed much things of acoustics. I don't think environmental pressure would change much about the sound of lightning or lightning itself, really. Maybe on how powerful the storms are, I'd imagine, but not the sound of lightning itself. But Pat, it's a question for you. You got to answer it.
Well, to be honest, I don't really have that much of an answer to it. It would be a really good research topic to look at, but I've never heard. I've never heard of such a scenario happening where the pressure change, where the pressure change causes the thunder to sound a little different, or if or anything like that. But I will definitely research that. What's up?
I've heard things about it. It is I think it's possible under extreme circumstances. Everything has to line up perfectly for something like that to happen. At least in my knowledge. And from what I've heard. But this is like very, very, I'm like, yeah, it might be a thing.
For sure.
I know like depending on the environment you are in can affect how the lightning bounces.
Yeah.
Because for example, if you're in a city, you're probably more likely going to hear the thing echo between the buildings compared to if you were just in a normal residential neighborhood, which is a lot more.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm looking at the National Weather Service Tampa's forecast discussion. And one thing I'd like to say is someone had a mistype. Anyways, let's read this out to see if it mentions it. Most of the convection is now over the water, and the current light rain that is over some areas should gradually dissipate over the next few hours. This is a very active afternoon and evening. Yeah, I was surprised on that, since usually during this type of year, our afternoon thunderstorms should very slowly calm down over the month. But over the last few days, it's been surprisingly active. We've seen forecast after forecast every day showing thunderstorm, and it's been actually showing thunderstorm after thunderstorm. So while in July we haven't seen something as much as this, so I want to see what's going on. If someone can check Tampa Bay's things for a moment and figure out why, that'd be nice. Overnight, though, conditions are.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I was not hitting my push to talk button, but no, it mentions nothing about any major pressure changes. But I'm trying to find a pressure map for Tampa Bay. It's probably on the SPC website.
Yeah, we can take a look at that. Yeah, we can take.
But yeah, for now, I don't see any reason why it would do that.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Yoshi, you can take a look at that while I relay this, because here's what the Europeans' probability percentage is right here for this system organizing and developing. This was initialized at 12Z today. They're now going at a 60 to 65% probability of this area of interest developing. So that's some news right there that we're paying attention to. I'm sure Weather Center Nazario would be very interested to take a look at this, as well as look at the dynamics and atmosphere and all the stuff that's going on with all the synoptics and everything like that. So, yeah, that's pretty interesting to see that. But at the same time, I'm not really that surprised, considering that we have a tagged AOI on this. But I am... Yoshi, I will say we did talk about this earlier in the stream. I think we were both caught a little off guard with this thing getting tagged as early as it was. Whenever you're ready.
I was sort of surprised when we all saw it. We all thought that maybe it would do it tomorrow when 18Z came out and every model aligned with each other. We thought we need to wait for more consistency, though. The NHC is probably not going to work this. And then it came like 750, 755. And we were all surprised looking at the Mesonet analysis of the Mesonet website. It was like, it came up 020. We were all surprised.
Yeah.
Like,
that was interesting to take a look at. And the second I saw that this was tagged, I was like, okay, the NHC is definitely finding something with this. And, well...
as talked about in my discussion, I did mention the possibility in a writer's commentary that maybe NHC, a possible reason they did it this early with us not expecting it was that NHC's in-house model. Since we do have in-house models, not every model is public. The NHC has some models kept to themselves, and maybe the possibility is that these models were also aligning up with the models that are publicly available, and maybe even that they've been showing this exact situation for a while now, such as a lot of the GraphCast models that have shown this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and and usually when the NHC says something, that'll be interesting to pay attention. The main thing I'm a little curious about now is, okay, the NHC is watching this. What's going to happen? Is it going to be a scenario where it was kind of like with Ernesto, where where things just rapidly escalate, or is this going to be a bit more gradual? And yeah, I want both of your guys' opinions on this first, but in a second. But in my mind, it's a little bit far out, and based on a lot of the ensemble runs, they have this thing initializing. Let me take a look at this very quickly. 96 hours out. They have this thing initializing, or at least this system that is. Greg, I know you're in the chat. I know you're probably a little upset for me for saying this wave as a thing. I know we were having our little thing in the comments section. I'm working on it, but okay. What do you guys think? Is this going to be a more gradual system, or is it going to be more of kind of an Ernesto where it rapidly escalated with the chances?
Wait, say that again?
If you remember with Ernesto, we saw it go 0-20, and then every single update, the chances just exponentially increased. Do you think we could see something similar to that, or will it be a lot more gradual in terms of its chances going up?
It all depends on how the structure continues to move along in these early stages.
Yeah.
If dry air gets into that low, it's not gonna have a good time. And that is a fair possibility. I wouldn't say it's 100% guaranteed. Yeah, there is dry air in around there to the north. And it's kind of a little hard to say, but for the most part, convection seems to be fighting off. But again, with tropical waves, we see convection now. That doesn't mean we'll have convection tomorrow. That is always the thing with these tropical systems.
Yeah. Yoshi, what are your thoughts on this? Is this going to be kind of one of those depend on the situation type of things?
It's definitely. It's going to be a bit too early to say, but whether it's going to go sudden or whether it's going to just slowly go up, it's really hard to predict this sort of stuff, especially for the NHC, because two reasons. One, models, whether they suddenly decide they should all agree with each other, if they suddenly decide that it wants to drop the system, and two,
Yoshi,
if I had to absolutely say, it's going to be gradual.
You cut out for a little bit after you said and two.
And two, how the NHC will interpret the model runs. But if I had to say, with a gun pointed to my head, I'd say that it will more than likely be gradual.
Yeah, that's where I'm. At least for the next 3 days, that's where I'm standing at this current point. Mainly because, well, this is such a new and evolving situation that it's going to take time to get us to get all the information we can. But okay, so we have all that, and I'm going to see if we have any questions in the chat. Do we have any questions? I'd be happy to take some questions. Also, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you are new. It helps us get more people engaged with weather. And we are less than 100 subscribers now away from 10,000. So if we can get to 10,000 subscribers, that would be absolutely insane. So if you guys could do that for me, that would be much appreciated. But in the meantime, we will take questions as well, either through here in the chat, or you can come into our Discord server. I know John's been working behind the scenes. He can navigate you guys through the server and into the live stream waiting room, so we can do that. And yeah, things are getting pretty interesting right there. So, okay. In the meantime, though, all right, here's our first question. Is a track to the Windward Islands possible? At this current point, if we look at the ensemble runs, it definitely is, and the GFS operational does support that as well. In fact, to the earlier question about Dominica, I said it was going to be the southern fringe of the ensembles. The operational GFS, let's go ahead and zoom in on this real quickly to the Western Atlantic right here. It looks like it's going to be moving south of Guadalupe, not just Guadalupe, but Dominica as well, as a tropical storm at pretty much the very at what the GFS is going for, a relatively strong tropical storm, and before entering the Caribbean Sea. So, yeah, the Windward Islands definitely does have a possibility of getting to this. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, if we have any more questions, feel free to type them into the chat. So yeah, we'd be happy to answer them. So yeah. All right. In the meantime, though, how I want to do the next segment, I do want to show some of the conditions. We were kind of alluding to it earlier as well. We showed the wind shear map right now with this, where it is in the main development region, relatively low wind shear. That ultimately, based off what I'm seeing, as well as the increased area of convection, yeah, there is some dry air to its north, and I know Daniel and I were talking about that, and it's going to be interesting to see what plays out at this current point. But ultimately, the way I see it is essentially, if the wind, as long as the wind shear stays away from the tropical wave and stays kind of away from the system, it should have a decent time organizing and developing. Although we're going to have to wait for more operational runs to kind of confirm nor deny that motion right there. So that's what we're paying attention to, North Atlantic, because we have the 18Z GFS right now. The 18Z European doesn't really have very much going on either. And let's go ahead and do this take a look at this right here. CMC, 12Z CMC doesn't really have anything going on. Operational runs are usually lag behind quite a bit. It takes a while to catch up to them. Icon run, this is the 18Z Icon, definitely has something at least kind of popping up in the main development region the next 5 days, kind of how the ensembles were as well. So ultimately, that's kind of what we're looking at. And what I will say is, based on the conditions it's given right now, it's going to be determinate, like what we were saying earlier. I'm kind of with Daniel and Yoshi on that regard. It's going to be determinate, but at least for the next few days. Yeah. What's up? Go ahead.
Actually, finish off.
But I was going to say, I'm actually in agreement with both of you guys. It's going to be determinate, but it's also, at least for the next 2 to 3 days, going to be a gradual increase in chances from the NHC. So that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I just want to point out, so the main development of this thing currently is forecasted to start in the first week of September. So starting September 1st is when most models initiate this, at least from what I'm seeing, properly, get it to at least like a tropical storm. From there, we'll have to see how the conditions play out. However, anything past Puerto Rico is when the storm's gonna start encountering trouble, because that part of the Atlantic is currently a sheer infested area.
Off the
And
coast of Puerto
has-
Rico?
Well, going north of Puerto Rico,
Oh.
where this thing is likely to head. Somewhere north. That could range from the edge of the Bahamas to out in the middle of the Atlantic. But with that being said, the overall thing with this storm, have to watch Puerto Rico. We have to watch the Leeward Islands. That's probably our main focus. Maybe the Dominican Republic. Maybe.
Yeah.
Anything past that, relatively, you should be fine.
Yeah. I was just looking at the shear forecast from the European now that you brought it up. Yeah, there's definitely going to be a little bit of shear to its north, but ultimately it's, yeah, I would say determining on how far north it stays away from the core, it's going to be deterministic.
It also depends on the size of the storm.
Yep.
Because right now we don't know the official size of this thing. If it's a small storm, it's going to struggle with that shear. If it's a bigger storm, well, going to take longer to develop. However,
it'll be
a
better
lot more
protected.
resistant, a little bit more resistant to the shear.
Yeah, I'm seeing that as well. I'm also noticing it's starting to suck up more convection from the intertropical convergence zone as well, so maybe it might use that to its advantage in terms of protecting itself. But it's one of those waves.
Right now, it needs to pump. It's right in that wave right now. It has dry air in it, so now it's probably filtering out that dry air right now.
Yeah.
However, with most tropical waves, that happens.
Yeah,
if it's in this type of setup, it will process, and I think it's only a few days away, if not a couple days away, until we start seeing a major blast of a central point of interest that will turn into a depression at least.
Yeah, and that's the thing that concerns me if that scenario plays out. Because, well, what do you have? Yeah, if it mixes out all that dry air, ultimately, what do you see happens? What ultimately happens at that current point? You have low wind shear, at least away from the core of it, if it's deterministic, but based off the shear forecast from the European, there's that. And there's also, what else is there? There's also very warm water over there, which, again, water and OHC isn't everything, but my God, it's pretty big. Go ahead. Yes.
Do I have to say that's what she said? Moment.
Totally.
But
let me show.
Make that a clip.
Yeah. This is the annual stream right here.
But I'm just going to say. I'm just gonna move on from that one.
All right.
The temperature right now in that area is ranging from 84 at its lowest Fahrenheit to 86, isolated 87 degree Fahrenheit.
That's more than enough.
Hot. For people that are not so aware, I mean, most of you out there probably know at least you need what the bare minimum temperature of the of tropics need, but for the people that don't know, you would want at least around 80 degrees Fahrenheit. And now it might not seem like a lot. Oh, a 5-degree difference doesn't mean a lot, but gotta tell you something. These storms use the energy and begin to do something. If you have a lower temp, they will technically start upwelling in that part.
Mm-hmm.
So for the people that don't know, sometimes you can actually see where these storms tracked because you see a lower temperature on later on. Where
Ernesto
these
is a good
things,
example.
especially if they track slowly.
Yep.
I mean, I think. Oh wow, I'm gonna go back to a notorious major hurricane here,
Yep.
2019 Dorian. I mean, you saw that upwell a lot right on the around the islands of the Great Bahamas,
Yep.
Great Bahama, and that thing. I was surprised it survived that long at the strength it was just sitting there.
I can go ahead and pull up the ocean heat content for you,
Oh, yeah, do that.
Daniel, in 2019, now that you mentioned that. I know we're kind of going down a trip down memory lane, but I want to go ahead and show you what Dorian was dealing with in that term.
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
go ahead and go to September 1st. It was over Grand Bahama. It was sitting over 125 to 150 OHC. But
Actually, didn't know it was that deep.
yeah, it was really deep in that area. It's known to be very deep in that area as well. But the point is that ultimately Dorian had a huge amount of money in the bank, in the OHC bank that is, and it used all of it to pretty much become a 185 mile per hour monster. And then the upwelling took over, and it also underwent an eyewall replacement cycle. I think it underwent a couple of them, and that's
it was a weird
what happened.
eyewall replacement cycle situation.
Yeah, the thing was it dry air that intruded into it, or was it more or less just the structure itself starting to fail?
I think it was more the structure failing, because the eye, I don't think it was too big for dry air to get in there.
Yeah.
The eye, though, after that cycle, and once it started pushing north, it had one of the biggest eyes I've ever seen
Yep.
pop out of that. I mean, it was another one to compare it to with an eye of that size was Maria.
Mm-hmm.
As we've been talking about Puerto Rico and Maria. Let's be totally honest here. Puerto Rico is never, ever going to be the same after that storm.
Oh, well, I know.
It's the unfortunate truth that unless something majorly changes and we help Puerto Rico, unfortunately, Puerto Rico is going to kind of be left in the dark, quite literally.
I mean, for a hurricane of that size, it takes potentially sometimes up to decades to recover from that. Hell, even a century won't do it.
What even makes it worse is that they're in islands, which is a lot harder to make repairs.
Yeah.
And having, what was it? Category.
They had Cat 4
5?
landfall.
4. It was 5 previous.
It was.
So
yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people were that always confused me if it was Cat 4 or 5.
It was a 5 right before landfall.
Yeah.
It underwent an eyewall replacement cycle, which made things a lot worse. So
yeah, it was a fun time tracking that one.
It was
not
it was
really
interesting tracking that one for sure. But speaking of ocean heat content, Daniel, we're seeing a massive surge of OHC the further west this pushes, and that's the main concern I have right now, because I've talked to you a lot about this. We're noticing lower wind shear. There is going to be some shear to the north of it, but depending on if it affects the core or not is deterministic. Also, which could also help allow the dry air play into the dry air. But what we're noticing is the OHC. Like, I've never seen this much OHC this far to the east. Yeah, I've seen a lot of OHC like this in the Caribbean, in the Gulf of Mexico, off the coast of the Bahamas, but not in the main development region before. At least to not this scale.
Oh my goodness gracious!
You seeing this?
No, I'm looking at something else. I'm currently looking at the ocean temperature in the Gulf.
That's
That has
near
barely been
Galveston in
tapped.
Houston.
Houston,
Yep.
with a high of. I would not even want to go in this water if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I've been to
89
Galveston before. I would
degrees.
not want to swim in that.
89 degrees Fahrenheit
At the surface.
at the surface, at least. But
Yeah.
it's still gonna be warm below it.
Yeah, I will say I've been to the Bolivar. I've been to the Bolivar Strait. I've been to the Galveston. I would not want to swim in that because pretty
A
much
majority of the so
Yeah.
the edges of the Gulf are around 88 degrees Fahrenheit, and the middle of the Gulf is 87
yeah.
surface level.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah. All right. So, in the that's all not good stuff to look at. But in the meantime, though, what are your guys' overall thoughts of the stuff that we were looking at in the Atlantic tonight? Yoshi or Daniel, you guys can start. I don't know if you guys want to decide that amongst yourselves.
Mm-mm. Who goes first?
We can
I guess
go.
I guess I can go. I mean, I've technically spat out everything I've wanted to say, so let's summarize it here. So, at the end of the day, we are still very early to say what this thing's gonna do. For the most part, right now, all we can hope is this thing busts for the people in the leewards and Puerto Rico mainly. Besides that, after that, it's probably gonna get sheared at least a little bit and brushed by Bermuda and take a similar track as the previous. Will this thing track anywhere near the East Coast or anything? Likely not. High pressure is keeping that away for the most part. Is it hitting anywhere in the Gulf region? No, not likely. So, for the most part, this is going to only be around the Leeward Islands and Puerto Rico, maximum Dominican Republic for the most part. Could see upwards, at least I'm going to keep it conservative, at least a category 1 if this thing fully gets its act together. It could get a little stronger. However, we'll just have to wait and see if the conditions continue to hold as they have.
All right. Yoshi, go ahead.
Yeah, what was the question again?
Just asking for your overall thoughts.
Overall thoughts. I think my overall thoughts on the system is it's likely to form. It's gonna turn into a strong. I don't have much to say, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, just
just took the cake for the end conclusion.
All right.
I don't know.
I guess we're good then.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's it. No, was a bit more of a layback stream tonight, so thank you all for tuning in. Just wanted to get this out there so that way you know what's going on and we can kind of give you some quick analysis before we head out. But thank you for tuning in tonight. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. We are less than 100 subscribers away from 10,000, so be sure you do that, as well as tell your friends, hey, Pat's Path Predictor's doing all this. I think he would really appreciate if you subscribe to him, so I would really appreciate that if you would do that. But also, be sure to join the Storms United Discord server. The link is in the chat. It's the pinned chat up there. Also, shout out to Taniel. He's been a sponsor of the Pat's Path Predictor channel as well. He's actually right here. So thank you very much for the support you've given on Patreon. Yeah. So shout out to you. And yeah, if you want to be a part of that, become an official sponsor or just a friend of Pat role, it's in the Patreon's first link in the description. Be sure to check that out. But with that being said, have a wonderful evening. Stay safe.